Well, greetings everyone, and I know it's been a while since I shared something on YouTube, and I thought as a way to kind of at least be a bit more active on YouTube, and also to just share something that will be hopefully a blessing to everyone, is to just do a daily kind of summary of what I've been learning in my devotions. So yeah, I think. The basic idea is just to share the simple elements of what I learned this morning and every other morning, and then the just kind of the applications, like the lessons that I've learned, and I think we can all take from the reading that I did. So this morning, I'm going to be sharing what I learned from the book Acts of the Apostles, and the chapter 45, which is entitled, it deals with the prison letters that Paul wrote while he was in Rome. So it's entitled Written from Rome. And the chapter begins off by saying that Paul had a really clear idea or grasp of the gospel principles and the love of God and the major themes that we find in the Bible. And this was due in part to the many visions that Paul had. And if you read 2 Corinthians chapter 12, the Bible speaks about how Paul had visions, how he was taken up to the third heaven 14 years before he wrote that particular letter. So it would have been in the 40s, not long after he began his ministry. And these visions, even though we don't really know the content of them, they had this effect on his work. They actually made him very much more efficient as a leader and as a teacher. They gave him a very, very clear view of Christian character, and were, as a result, his letters were extremely helpful for us today. They provide a tremendous amount of encouragement for holy living, for living through suffering and trials and uncertainty. And they also warn us about the threats that endanger the church, include in particular various kinds of heresies that were prevalent in his day and will also resurface in our time. So again, while we don't know what Paul saw in his visions, we get at least we can be blessed by the results of those visions through the letters that he wrote. So she goes on to summarize the content of the prison letters. She begins by quoting the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, where Paul speaks about how we should not be like children who are easily tossed to and fro, that is, easily misled by false doctrines. And she talks about how reaching a certain height or a level of maturity is essential to that, rather not she, but he, Paul. And he talks also to, again, to the Ephesians that they, even though they are surrounded by heathen religion and heathen customs, all of which were very tempting, continually, their environments were surrounded and filled with temptations. He encourages them not to yield, not to give in, not to go back to that foolish, darkened lifestyle of their pre-Christian experience. Instead, he admonishes them to redeem the time, or to make most of the time that they have left on earth. And he points them towards the day of their reward, right, which is so important for us. Not only to keep in mind that we need to be faithful and to resist and all that, but why? And the reason is there's going to be a reward in the long run. Talking about how Christ will come and present his church to himself spotless, pure, without wrinkle, without any corruption. The wonderful day of the marriage supper of the Lamb. And then she goes on to talk about the content of the letters. She continues talking about that, and how Paul stresses practical godliness, how he gives counsel for the churches. He addresses how to have unity, how to deal, in other words, with divisions, how to deal with heresies, how to how to deal with temptation, and so on and so forth. And then she shifts, and the author Ellen White focuses then on the letter to the Colossians. And really, what she touches on is the first chapter, where Paul really rejoices over the report that he got from his fellow laborer Epaphras about how the Colossians had been steadfast, that is, they had remained true and faithful to the knowledge of the truth that they had had. And he prays from verse 12 or really verse 9 and on, that they would continually grow in knowledge, in the knowledge of God's will, in spiritual understanding. And the reason for this is that knowledge will equip them, enable them to grow and to walk worthily, as he says, of the Lord, of the one who has called them. And another analogy he uses, apart from, or rather in addition to this idea of walking, is the idea of being fruitful. Fruitful meaning having good works in our lives. And so he prays that God would give them increasing knowledge, and also that he would strengthen them with his might to be able to live this fruitful lifestyle. And Ellen White is going to go on to explain why this knowledge is important, because the true knowledge will counteract and expose the false knowledge which was troubling the church at that time, which we'll look at later on. And finally, the words of Paul, his prayer, shows the tremendous potential, the high ideal, the possibilities that are open to the Christian. What we get from Paul's words is that we can continually be growing in knowledge, that we can actually have a daily expansion of our knowledge. We don't have to be stagnant in our knowledge, nor do we have to be stagnant in our spiritual maturity, in our spiritual characters. We can continually be growing. That's the idea that Paul is expressing. So there's, again, no limit to the blessings. There's no limit to how much we can grow. There's no limit to the power that is offered to us. And all of this is so that we can become fit citizens, fit to be citizens of the kingdom of heaven. So again, this is really where it becomes really practical. This is what the letters of Paul open up to us. They make us understand that there is limitless potential, limitless possibilities before the Christian. And there is joy in this, right? He actually talks about how we can be joyful in this experience. So this, when I look at this myself, I think I can grow and grow and grow. If there's no such thing as a plateau in the Christian's experience, there is only continual growth, both in this life as well as in the life to come. So that's really the essence of what I got this morning. And I hope and pray that this will inspire you to continue growing, not in your own strength, not with your own wisdom, but in the power and in the knowledge that God, that through Jesus, provides for us. So may God bless you and give you a wonderful day. Thank you so much.